I hope everyone had an amazing day. I'm gonna go through and thread the machine. I got better snips today, so it's not a struggle. Snipping thread. If you haven't already threaded your machine or got your needle and thread together, go ahead, because we're jumping right in this evening. And remember, if you're having trouble with any machine, if you can't figure out the bobbin or how to thread it, you can always send me a message and I can walk you through it. And I also have videos on how to as well. Okay, so my machine is threaded, and now we're gonna continue on with our tote bag. So Monday, we did our straps. So we did our straps. Remember, your straps were 6 by 30 inches, and then we folded them in half. We folded them in half to make it, and ironed it. You do need an iron. And then we folded 1 inch in on the ends. So we folded it in half. Let me grab my example. All right, so here's the example that I showed. So we folded it. This was a 6-inch wide piece of fabric. So we folded it. Go down to the unfolded. We folded it in half first, and we ironed it down, and then we folded in. So this is my fold. Then we folded in 1 inch on each side. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. We folded 1 inch in on each side, and then we ironed it down. So this 6-inch piece ends up being a 2-inch wide strap. So again, 6 inches wide by 30 long. We folded it in half and ironed it, and then we opened it up, and then we folded in 1 inch. So that's 2 inches, right? And then you have 2 inches on this side and 2 inches on this side. I told y'all sewing was a little bit of math, so this 6-inch became a 2-inch strap. And then what we did is we sewed it down. So we sewed down the open end. So this was the side that we folded. We sewed it down, foot matched the edge, just sewed a straight stitch all the way down. And then for uniformity's sake, we went to the other side and sewed the other side down so that we would have a stitch on both sides. And that's just for uniformity. You didn't have to, but no, it's sewing. You know, I like to be uniform as much as possible. So we did that on both straps, and then I also showed the hand sew method on this strap here. And you can see the hand sew method. If you do not, and I did it in white so you could see my stitches. So you want to do it in the color of your fabric, because had I done this in black, it would have blended in with the black and you wouldn't have seen anything. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. So we did the hand stitch down the side for those of you who do not have sewing machines and are hand stitching your projects. Remember, everything that you can sew on the machine, you can sew by hand. There is a way. So we did our straps, and then we did the beginning of our bag. Now this was a 18 by 18 square, and we flipped it to the wrong side of the fabric. So you always want to flip it to the wrong side when you're sewing unless it's something like a strap and we're sewing on the out stitch. These are called top stitches because you can see the stitch on the outside, so it's a top stitch. So we flipped our piece inside out, and we pinned it on 3 sides, because until you don't have a top until you start sewing. We needed one side to remain open because it's a tote bag. We got to get inside of it and put our straps in and everything. So we sewed the 3 sides, and then I did show the hand sew on right up against here. I had to take it out so that we can continue on, but I'll continue to show hand sewing as we move along. So right now we're going to, let me show you. So we have the 3 sides show. We started here. We talked about the back stitch, bottom, and then the other side. So the top of this is open. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew the top down. So, and what that looks like is, and you do need, tonight's class, you will need you'll need snips, you'll need your ruler, you'll need pins. You will need pins. It could be in a pin cushion or your box of pins, but you will need stick pins because we will be pinning as we go. You need something, scissors or snips to cut your threads with at your machine. You will need a ruler or a tape measure, and you'll need something. You can use, I use chalk or a marker, but you can use a pen or a pencil depending on the color of your fabric. Because you're going to mark your fabric on the, when we do our markers, we're going to mark it on the wrong side of the fabric, so you're not going to see it. So the first thing we're going to do is now we're going to fold down the top part of our bag so that we have a clean finish. So here's our top. Now you are going to sew down the top. Let me get this. This is a hand sewn stitch. You were going to pin down, the top about 1 inch down. So what we will do is do 1 inch fold and then 1 inch down. That's my hand stitch is still kind of in there. I just want to get that out. Okay. So I always like to start on the seam, and when you're near a seam and you're going to sew by it, you want to open up your seam. So what that means is you open it up like this. You open it flat, and then what you're going to do is you're going to pin. You're going to fold 1 inch and 1 inch. So we're going to fold 2 inches down. You're going to fold, and I'm going to use my ruler so you can see what I'm doing. So from the top, there's 1 inch, and I see where it lands. I'm going to fold it in, and then I'm going to fold it in 1 more inch. And always, it's nice to start on the seam because you can control the opening or laying down your seam allowance. So I'm going to go 2 inches down. Remember, your first fold is 1 inch, and then you're going to fold down another inch. And you want to make sure it is even. How you know it's even? Because your seam is matched with your seam. Your top seam is matched with your seam along the side. And then we're going to pin. When we pin this, we're going to pin. Remember, you always pin the opposite way that you're sewing. We're going to sew this way. We're sewing around the bag. So you want to either pin this way, and it doesn't matter which way your pin top is, but you want to make sure that you're pinning in the opposite direction. So I'm going to pin, and you'll see my pins vary. They'll either go top up or bottom up as long as they're going up and down. Okay, so we're going to do that 1 inch around, and once you get to a certain point, because you've already measured your inch, it's going to kind of fold itself. But I like to be uniform because I want to make sure that the top is straight. So I'm going to measure. That's 1 inch. And you see how I'm kind of holding it with my finger so that I can make sure that it stays down. And I'm going to fold it down another inch. And then pin. Remember, you pin in and up. I'm going to do that all the way. You don't want to catch the other side. You need it to stay open. So I'm gonna hold that in place, move that back out of the way, and pin it down. You wanna close, because we're sewing down here, you want to sew close to the end. You want to pin, I'm sorry, close to the end. You do not want your pin to be up here. It will hold it down, but you want it closer to that flap that we're gonna, the edge that we're going to sew down. So you want it down there. So you're gonna go, remember, move the back of the bag out of the way. 1 inch, measure, fold it in place, and then fold over another inch. You'll be able to eyeball this and see if you are going, if you're straight. And let me tell you what I mean. Because if it is not straight, then you'll see it start doing, if you're just randomly folding, then let's say I'm just willy-nilly, right? When I lay it down, it's gonna look like this. Clearly you can see it going at an angle. So that's why I say it's important to have a ruler with you, because you want to make sure that it is straight, and that you want the top of your bag to be straight. This is yours. So when people see your bag, you want them to be like, where you get that from? And you're like, I made it. Like, oh, okay. So, and listen, I told y'all in the first class, we not sewing crazy. We gonna do it right. So 1 inch, and then fold it over. You always want to make sure that you have a pin on the seams. So because of that, your seam allowance. So you always want to make sure that no matter what, don't stick a pin here. Don't stick a pin here and then have to come an inch over. So you want to make sure they're spread apart as well, because remember last class, you don't want to have to stop. But you want to stop at a good measure to take your pin out, not zzz, and then take a pin out. You want to be able to go a distance before you have to take the next pin out. Not too far, but you don't want them so close together, because that slows you down with sewing. So again, we're on the seam. We're going to open it up. I'm going to fold down 1 inch. Measure. And then fold it down again. And then again, pin on your seam. That's how you keep it. That's another way of keeping it straight as well. Okay, so I have one side pinned down. So I have the seams pinned down on both sides, and now I'm going to go to the other side, because remember, we got to keep it open. Okay. So now same thing, but you see if I kind of fold it under, it's kind of almost there without being pinned. However, I am still going to check it and make sure that it is in the right, that is measuring 1 inch, and that it is straight. So I can see my inch there. Measure. Okay, I'm a little over that inch, so I got 1 1/4 inches going on, or 1 1/8 inches, I'm sorry. All right. And remember, it doesn't matter which way your pin goes. You just want to make sure that it's going up and down. So it doesn't matter which way the ball or the top of your pin is going. Again, I'm letting it fold itself, but I am checking, and I don't want my pins too close together. So I'm gonna go here. And then maybe about 2 more pins. Okay, so y'all can see what I'm doing. Still measuring, no more than 1 inch. And one more. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining Sewing 101. We are making a tote bag. We're actually finishing up our tote bag tonight, and I have another exciting project to start on Monday. So I cannot wait to share, but we're gonna get through this one first. And the funny part, the good news is you don't need another piece of fabric if you started with that 1 yard of fabric that was required for this project, because you should still have some fabric left over. Okay, so I've got my top pinned all the way around, still open so I can get inside of it. Remember, you fold down 1 inch and then fold down another inch. Okay, so now we're going to sew. Now this is one of those cases where we're gonna remember when we sewed before, I said foot match the edge, right? So this is your foot, and it matches in most cases. Like when we were sewing here, I'll just give you an example. When we were sewing our bag closed, let's pull up so y'all can see, our foot matched the edge of the fabric. This is your foot. When you put it down, it was equal with the edge of your fabric, which will give you a really good seam allowance, which is what we wanted. So now we're going to kind of flip that, and we're going to do, because we're sewing around, and we're sewing what I call in a circle. So what you're going to do is remove if you have a machine, you're going to remove the front part of your machine, which is called the free arm. This part is here. So what the reason why it's called a free arm is because when you remove it, let's go just a little bit so y'all can see. When you remove it, this is the arm. So if you ever if you have like a tight space, you need to go around. This is how you would get into that space, okay? My machine is threaded. My foot is in place. I have lengthened my stitch. Remember, we're on 0-0. On this particular one, it is straight. And the 3.5 is the default is 2.5. We want to make it longer. So if we have any mistakes, we can take it out, okay? So when you're sewing and you have a seam that you have opened up, that you're going to sew around, you want to start on your seam. So we're going to start on this seam. Thread to the back. I'm putting it in so it kind of hugs the machine. So it's going around the machine. So the bottom part is going here underneath, and then I'm going to put the top part on, and then I'm going to start. My foot this time is going to match this edge, because this is the side that I want sewn down. Okay, this is already folded. We need to sew this side down. So my foot is going to match this edge. Make sure your seam allowance is open. And then I'm going to put my foot down, so this is matching. So foot down. And then I'm going to turn my needle down. Okay, since my pin is really close to the foot, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take it out. Remember, it's always nice to keep your pin cushion or your pin box or your magnet close to your machine as you take the pins out, so that you can just, put them back where they belong, instead of them just being laying around and falling in the carpet or your floor or whatever, especially if you have little ones. Okay, so my foot down, needle down. So now let's sew. Remember, the harder you press the presser foot, the faster it's going to go. So, and you always want to keep both hands on your sewing machine or on your garment. You can hold it here. Just don't pull, and don't try to push. It doesn't need it. It's going to do what it needs to do. All you're doing is guiding it. Okay, so we are not going to back stitch, because we're going to do a few stitches overlap when we come back around. So, and the reason why we're holding it here is because you want to make sure that this stays on the bottom, and it doesn't get caught up under your needle, and then, close your bag up. Here we go. So my eye is right here because I want to make sure my foot matches the edge of the fabric. I'm going to pull it up so you all can see it a little bit better. Remember, we are not sewing over any pins, so take the pins out a little ways before you get to them. Now, as I sew this, I'm pulling out from the bottom because what you don't want is for it to do this and be tight around the arm of the machine. So you want to kind of rotate your fabric out from under as you sew along, because remember, we're sewing in a circle. And feel free to ask me questions as I'm sewing, y'all. I do see the screen, so feel free to ask me questions if you have any, or ask me to go over that again, or slow down if you need me to. Okay, so I'm at my open seam. We're gonna make sure our seam allowance is open. And thanks for the love, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining this evening. Okay. And the reason why we're not sewing over pins is because I don't want you all to break your needle. If you are a skilled seamstress and you've been sewing and you're here to tighten up your sewing skills or to learn different traits, and you're comfortable with sewing over pins because your stitch width is correct, then by all means go for it. I don't do it in a beginner class because number one, I don't want any pins left behind. And it's just easier. I don't need the pin to hold my fabric down anymore because especially when I'm about to get to it with my stitch, so I don't need the pin anymore. And it seems like double work to me when you leave the pin in and then you have to come back and then take it out. Just take it out as you go. So my fabric is shifting a little bit on me. So you see this extra, it's kind of raised right here. And so what I am doing is I'm like kind of pressing it down, but I'm also going to kind of give my fabric a little pull so that it can lay down by itself. But before I do that, these are my beginning threads. So I'm going to go ahead and snip those because I don't want them caught in my finish. So always snip your threads so you don't have hanging threads and then have to, figure it out at the end. Snip as you go. And I'm still making sure my foot lines up with the edge of my fabric. And I'm overlapping. So where I started, I'm doing a few stitches over so that I can overlap this stitch. Which means I don't have to back stitch. My needle is up, foot up. Remember, snip your threads at the fabric. Make sure you pull them long enough so that you have some space, because if you cut them too short, you never want to cut your threads right here. You want to have a little bit of pull, because if you cut them too short, then when you go to put your needle back down, your thread's gonna come out your needle every time, and you'll spend more time having to rethread your needle. So send my threads to the back, through the foot and to the back. So let me show you what we have here. So this is what our stitch looks like, okay? And this is the outside of your bag. So we sewed down this piece right here. This is the top of the bag. Now, for the hand sewers, this is how we do it. And I chose a lighter thread so you all can see what I'm doing. On Monday, we went over the straight stitch using your hand. So I already have a knot at the end of my thread, so we're ready to go. And you want your knot to start on the inside, because this is the inside. You don't want your knot out here on the outside of your bag. So I'm starting there. See, my knot is, where is it? Right here. It's in place. And then I'm going to come back up, but now that I have it in place, okay, so now we can do our hand stitch. So let me just show you, because you want to keep it pinned while you're doing this stitch. All right, so, and remember I showed you the stitch on Monday. You can go around that, you can go around the pin. You do so many. This is just faster to me. You do so many, and then you pull your thread. Make sure, don't thread your needle too long, because your thread, like, it'll get tangled up. It's easier to get tangled up if it's long. Okay, and it looks like that. And then you can pull your pins out. If you do not like the faster stitch, then you can do like this. And you want to make sure you're doing it in a straight line. Go in, come up, in, up, I'm going to get past this pin so you all can see how. So you see what it did? It wrapped around the pin, so you just want to make sure you unwrap it. All right, so I'm past the pin. So again, that is another way of hand stitching, or you can go back to this method. This method allows you to do a straight line, which that's why I like this method. You can go in a straight line easier doing this method, because you can see what you're doing. And remember, if your needle comes out a lot, then that's how long your stitch is going to be. So you want your needle, I have it up against my thumb so y'all can see it better. You want your needle to not come out as much. You just kind of want it to peak and then go back in, because that determines your stitch length. Now, and also I'm doing this underneath the sewn stitch, but when you do your hand stitch, you want to do it closer to the edge. I'm doing it parallel to the machine stitch. You want to do it closer to the edge where where the machine stitch is. But that's what the hand stitch looks like. Okay, so now we have the hand stitch down. And like I said, feel free to ask questions if you have them. We are doing a tote bag this evening on 100% cotton fabric, and everything is posted on my profile, which is a YT video if you've missed any of the classes. So That's what that looks like. So now I'm going to remove that. Well, I'm just going to cut it. Okay. Okay, so now that we have that done, now we're going to put our straps in place. So how do you set your straps? Here's my rule of thumb. To make sure your straps are centered and in the middle of your bag, so what I do is, this is the top of the bag. I fold it in half. When you fold it in half, you find the middle. So you find the middle when you fold it. Let me do this again. And then fold it in half. Now, when I say fold it in half, make sure your, just like folding a sheet, you're gonna make sure your seams are on one end, and then you have it folded in half, okay? And then you're going to, so that's the middle, that's your middle. This is right here of the bag. Then you're gonna fold it again to find the middle of the middle. So we're gonna do this. So this is the middle of my middle. Now what I do here is I pin it there, put pins there, because this is where your strap is going to sit. So I have my crease, and I'll go ahead and put my first pin there. And then in like this. That's my first pin. Yeah. So you're gonna put a pin in the middle, and then, so this is the middle of the middle, because now we're placing our strap, right? While that pin is there, it's my guide to go ahead and mark the rest of the layers, I should say. You don't want to pin anything together, so you should have 4 pins in the top of your bag. So I have those two. Those two are one on each side. So now I can put pins on the other side. Okay, like that. So now, with your pins in place, and it should look like this. So you have a pin on each side, on both sides, and that is your guide. Hello everybody, thanks for joining. So now we're gonna pin our straps in place. So we're gonna pin here. So here's a rule of thumb. Fold your strap in half and line it up with your pin. You wanna go about a 1/2 inch down from the bottom of your, what we just sewed down, right? So the middle is lined up with my pin, and I'm going to lay it there. And I am going to, the middle is lined up with my pin, and I'm going to lay it there. And I am going to, the middle is lined up with my pin, and I'm going to lay it there. And I am going to, hold it, press it down, and pin my strap down. And then you want to make sure your strap is straight. You want to make, this is important. You want to make sure your strap is straight, and then you're going to go over. So make sure it's straight, and then you're going to curve it over to your other pin. Remember, you're going to go about a 1/2 inch down, and then you are going to remove that pin and pin it in place. Now, it is important that your pin is straight. Make sure your pin is straight. Okay? And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Flip it. We got one strap in place. You're going to flip it, and you're going to do the other strap. So you fold it over like this. Make sure it's lined up with your pin. Like this. Make sure it's lined up with your pin. Like this. Make sure it's lined up with your pin. Like this. Make sure it's lined up with your pin. Okay. The other strap in the middle, and then we're pinning. Make sure your straps are laying straight, okay? So now you're going to sew them down. I will show you how to sew them down by hand first, okay? So making sure it's straight. We're gonna sew them down close to the top. So you gotta be mindful of where your top is. So let's just do it. Let's do it from the front. That way you can see. So hand sew I have the knot in the bottom of my thread. So we're gonna go up from the back, and I'm at the edge. So here's my strap. Here's my strap, and here's the top of my bag. I want to start at the edge so that I can be close to the top of the bag, but I'm going to start on the back. That way you don't see the knot. So I start there. Keep your needle, keep it pinned, because you want to make sure that you are keeping your strap straight. Thanks, Lydia. Appreciate it. All right, here we go. We're hand sewing. Now you are sewing through many layers. You got 3 layers on your top, and you got 4 layers here. So it may be a little bit stiff to get your pin through, but it will work. You want to make sure your needle is not too thin, because if it's too thin going through these layers, it will bend. So you want to have like a medium size, not too heavy, but you want to have like a medium sized needle. Okay, and this is hand sewing that strap down from the top, and it looks like that. To end this, you're going to do it like we did the other day. You're going to go in and up in that same space. I'm gonna switch it because it's in that yellow space, and I want y'all to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna just kind of shift up here. So you go in and up, very tiny. You're gonna do it 3 times. The first one does not count. Okay, so we're gonna go in and up. That's 1. Make sure you see that little loop there? That means my threads are uneven. So I pull them apart, even them out, put them apart, and just pull until it evens out. 1. 2. And on this last one, I'm going to go, because I'm going to finish it in the back. So I'm going to go in, and then I'm going to go here, because I want my knot to be in the back where it is unseen. Okay, you can take your pin out now because it is in place. Remember, when you snip this thread, because you want to have space to make another knot, snip long. And then you're gonna make a knot. That's security. That's the back stitch of the machine. When you're doing it by hand, that's the back stitch of the machine. So tie it and tie it. And then you're gonna snip this thread down all the way down. Okay, so that's the hand stitch version. Now, let's do it on the machine. And I can put my arm back on because I am not, I am done sewing in that circle. So remember, taking the arm off is a free arm. When we're doing sleeves or pants, hemming pants, or doing what we just did, then you take the free arm off. It gives you space. We could have done it because it's such a wide hole on the back. We could have did it with it on, but I like the freedom of having that removed, so it gives us more space to work with. Okay, so with the machine, this is our hand stitch strap down, and then we're gonna move here. Now this one we can sew on the other side because we are, we won't have a knot. And then we can see what we're doing. So you want to make sure your foot is matched with the edge of your bag, of the top of your bag on this one. So and then make sure your strap is straight. If your strap is like this, it's gonna sew like that and it's gonna be lopsided. So you wanna make sure that your strap is straight. I'm gonna kind of pull my pin a little bit so that as a matter of fact, I'm going to reverse my pin. And the reason why is because if I don't, my foot is gonna hit the ball point of that pin. All right. So my strap is straight. My foot is matched to the edge of the fabric. Foot down. Needle down. Start at the edge of your strap and you'll be able to see it. Foot down, needle down. You will backstitch here. You will backstitch at the beginning and the end. Remember how we did that knot at the beginning of the hand stitched one? We had the knot. And then we had the knot on the other side. That's what we're about to do with the machine with the back stitch. So you're gonna start about 2 in, and then back stitch about 2 or 3 down out. 1, 2, 3. All right. Foot is matched with the edge of your bag. Remove that pin. And then we're at the end. I'm gonna back stitch again. So to the edge, back stitch. 2, 3, 4. All right. And then remember, we're snipping our thread. If your thread is stuck when you try to pull and it doesn't move, then all you want to do is turn down a little bit. See how it's so my needle. Make sure you turn it towards you. You want to turn your turn out, and then make sure that your needle it'll loosen up your threads. So it'll loosen up that bottom and top thread. Snip your threads. And then we're going to move over to the other strap. Remember, threads through the foot and to the back. But before you move over, you want to make sure you snip your threads from the beginning. No hanging threads, y'all. No hanging threads. Again. And double check your straps just to make sure that that's not twisted. Make sure your straps are not twisted. Make sure your strap is straight. Foot match the edge of your bag. So we're back here. Foot down on your strap. Make sure you're at the edge of your strap. Foot down. Needle down. Sew a few. Back stitch. I took my pin out, but I'm still holding my strap in place. So you want to make sure that you are holding everything in place. I am using a Brother. So my machine is Brother. And then it is the CE series. So I did a Elite 60. I did a how to thread video if you need any help, and how to make a bobbin. So it's on my YT, which is the same name as the channel, as this channel. Snipping threads. And then again, if you have this particular machine, I went into great detail in that first class, Elite 60. I'll give you what your settings should be on, what these buttons and all, what everything means on this particular machine, which is similar to others, but I broke it down on this machine. So if anyone in this class has this machine, they haven't used it, refer back to the first video, or even the second one to it, because I keep, so every class I start with threading the machine, just so, because I want you all to get used to, who all have machines, to get used to how to thread the machine. And if you don't have a machine, when you do get a machine, if you choose, when you go back to the videos, you will have that guide there to know how to thread and how to make that bobbin. Okay, last one. Foot down, needle down, strap it straight. She wanted to shift. We're not shifting. Let's go straight, Mama. Okay, so we have our straps sewn down. Snipping all the threads. Okay, y'all, we almost done. We almost done with the tote bag. Almost, because we have one more stitch that I would like to show, and this just makes the bag stand up, okay? So on the bottom, so remember, this is the top. Let me show it to you the right way. This is the top. This is an option. You don't have to. If you can be done right here. You can be done right here. However, I like to show how to make the bag, how to give the bag a little bit of volume. So what I do here is I go to the bottom. So this is the bottom. This is the bottom where the corners, when we sewed the corners the other day. So what I do is I open it up on this corner. So I'm opening it up, right? And open it up, open it up. Now, I'm only dealing with this corner, but I have to kind of go in the bag a little bit to open it up a little bit more. And I want to make sure I'm on my seam. Thanks for the gifts. Thanks for the gift, y'all. Thanks for showing to class. I appreciate you. So I'm opening it up to where I have the V. So again, let me show you what I did. I'm at the bottom of the bag on one of the corners. And then I take it and I'll go from one side. I pinch one side and I pinch the other side, and I'm opening it up. I'm opening it up enough to form that V. Okay, so it's forming a V. My seams are on top of each other. My seams are on top of each other. Now, I'm only going to do one side because I want you to see what it's going to look like. If you stop and don't do this, you're going to see what it looks like that way. And if you do this side, then you're going to see what it looks like this way as well. This is just making it flat at the bottom so it looks like a box, right? Or here, and another side. So with that open, I am going to measure 2 inches from the point. 2 inches up from the point. So from the point, I'm measuring 2 inches. Thanks for the gifts, y'all. I appreciate you. And I am going to mark. Remember, if you're marking, you can use if you have Taylor's chalk, you can use Taylor's chalk. You can use a pencil, or you can get. I have these pens. It's a pen, but it's Taylor's pen, and when you iron it, it goes away. You can use a pencil or a pen. I wouldn't use a Sharpie because it can bleed through the fabric. And you're marking on the inside, so you're good to go. You don't have to worry about the mark being there if you're using a pencil or a pen. So I'm gonna mark it at my 2 on both sides. So I'm 2 inches. Do it the easy way, B. Go across. I'm going to sew on that line, but of course, before I sew on that line, I'm going to pin because I want to make sure that I don't lose I can feel my seams on top of each other, and I want them to stay there. I am going to open them up, and when you open up your seams, it just makes for a flatter sew. And what I also like about this is when you open up your seams and you're pinning, you know your line is straight when you go through the seam on one side and you flip it over and your pin is really close or inside the seam on the other side. Let's see. Oh, she close, y'all. Okay, so we got that opened up. We're sewing on the line that we marked. So if y'all can see that chalk line, we are sewing on that chalk line, okay? And this is at the bottom corner of your bag. If you brave, you do both corners and you have a stand-up bag. And if you want to keep it simple, which is in both are fine, then you stop at putting the straps on. Okay, and then just be mindful of your seam allowances being open, especially the one on the bottom, because it will try to flip back close on you because you're on, because it's pressed to the bottom. Threads are to the back. I'm making sure, and I can make sure of this before I even put my foot down. I'm making sure that my needle is going to be right on top of that. I'm making sure my needle is going to be right on top of my chalk line before I put my foot down. So I turn my needle down. It's hitting. I am not starting at the edge. I'm not starting at the edge because I want to make sure that, your fabric clears that oval so it doesn't get jammed down in there. But I am backstitching. Stay on the line. Remove that pin. Make sure your seam allowances stay down, and I do look under to make sure it's down there. All right, it's down. You also want to just kind of feel to make sure nothing's jumbled up so you don't stitch it down. Okay, So, snipping the threads. Okay, y'all, so here we go. And here I am. So we have completed our first project, which is the tote bag. All the pins are removed. Remember, you remove the pins as you go. I'm gonna move up a little bit so y'all can see what I'm doing. Hey, Stitch Love Studio, you're very welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so flipping it over, flipping it inside out. Remember, always check for threads. Make sure you don't have any loose threads hanging. And then I'll stick your finger in that corner to make sure that it that your corner pokes. Now, here we go. So here is our tote bag. Now, here's the side where we did not make it a square, make it flat. It's just a point, okay? Here's that side. And then here is the side where it is, we squared it off to make it sit. Y'all see the difference? So this side will sit, and this side is just a point. This side sits, you can see the square bottom. And then, because that is the last stitch that we did. And then this is the point. Either way is fine. Because please trust and believe, this bag is going in my bags that I use at the grocery store. So either way is fine. But we just made a tote bag. You can so do this by hand. If you followed along, you can I kept my stitches there. You can do this by hand. And remember, my stitches are a lighter color because I wanted you all to see my threads. So if you're doing it by hand and you always follow whatever your background color is, unless you want to get fancy, because I could have used red thread if you know, hand stitching, or even with the sewing machine, because I wanted to pop a color in my stitch. So, or if you want your threads to blend, then use whatever the background color is of your fabric. And I'm pointing to the background color. So this is the tote bag. Again, this is 18 by 18 on the body. This is the body. This is 18 by 18 square. And the straps are 6 wide by 30 long. And then we folded the straps in half, and then 1 inch on one side, another inch on the other side, to make a 2-inch strap. Okay, so this is our tote bag. Now, there you had leftover fabric. If you the shopping list for this project was 1 yard of fabric. You had some fabric left over. So let me show you what we're doing next. This is my leftover fabric. That was 1 yard of fabric that I had. This piece measures, and I think I cut it down a little bit. So, and I'm gonna tell you, will want to cut yours down, I'm gonna tell you why. This piece measures 9 by 9 by 18. So here's what we're doing with this piece. We are making, on Monday, this is a new project, so on Monday we are making a thermal, I'm gonna call it a thermal healing bag. What does that look like? That is, so what will you need? If you're just joining, which is great, thanks, welcome to class. You need a 9 by 18 piece of fabric. I would just, if you're going to the fabric store, you can get a 1/4 yard. And you need a bag of rice. Your needle and thread, or in your sewing machine, your snips, and some pins. So the next class, we are, thank you. And you know, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about the holiday and my fabric, but it tracks. So you need a 9 by, 18 piece of fabric, or if you're buying fabric, just get 1/4 yard, or you don't want it too big, because we are going to fill this thing with rice. Rice is thermal, and you can use it, you can freeze it or you can heat it. And if you're real fancy with it and you have herbs, or you deal with herbs, get some lavender. Get some lavender. And Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to start our new project. We are going to make what I like to call healing bags, or so it's good for if you have aches and pains, and you want, it's like an ice pack, but it's rice, because y'all know rice holds heat and it holds cold too. So that's what we're making on Monday. You need 1/4 yard of fabric, and you need a bag of rice, just regular uncooked rice. It doesn't matter if it's short or long. You can go to the discount place and get a bag of rice, and you, depending on how big your I wouldn't recommend be too big, because you want this, you're filling it with rice, so you want to be able to kind of lay it over, because it's not going to be stuffed like a pillow. It's going to have some room to move, because you want it to be fluid. You want the rice to be fluid inside. So that's what we are going to do for Monday's class. I'm so excited. Can y'all tell? Like, I really love what I do. So thank you all for joining. I hope that you all made your tote bags. Again, all these videos will be posted on my YT, so that you can go back and look at the video step by step. If you have questions, if you have any sewing questions, feel free to message me. I will answer you, because I want everybody to be successful. We will have a few more projects that we will complete in this class. We are using 100% cotton, so let me be clear. If you're going out to buy fabric for this next project or your tote bag, I recommend 100% cotton, nothing else's. So you don't want anything that's going to stretch or anything like that, just 100% cotton. And you can find that at many stores, even big box stores, or your local stores. You can find fabric. And if you have fabric laying around, or old sheets or old pillowcases, it works the same. So grab your fabric, grab your pins, your rulers, your needle and thread, your sewing machines, and let's start sewing, y'all. So I hope you all enjoyed tonight's class. Again, that was an 18 by 18 with 6 by 30 inch straps. If you are going back to do this project, 18 by 18, 2 18 by 18 squares, 2 6 by 30 straps.